Hi, so today I'm going to walk you through my process on making a tiny little animation for the next video, which is storyboarding. This little animation doesn't even really need to be in the video, but I thought it would be a cool thing to add. The plan is to have my character pop up from this side of the screen here, and then we're going to have some titles just along here. So let's get started. I'm going to start out where I want the character to end up. So we're just going to draw right here. Super messy. At this point, my roughs never look very neat or uniform, so I think the pose that I planned out is going to be like this. Sort of like the Will Smith pose on the red carpet he did. So this shoulder, make sure it actually looks okay. Like this. And across here for the sleeve. And then we've got the dungarees. And eyes are going to be over there. Fringe. And then the hair. Okay, so in the sketch that I've drawn on a piece of paper, we want the pose to sort of like lean. But this is like the end pose that I want. So I'll probably make this arm a bit wider. So I just usually when I'm doing the roughs I go in like and adjust things. So that's one pose. I'm just going to slide this along. So if you're using TVPaint, just make sure that you've got this hand unticked or like off, because otherwise you won't be able to move the frame along. We'll have a small head up here. To make things consistent when I do the lining stage, I am going to draw a circle and then move that along just so I can go over it. As for character design, I've always been tempted to change it so they look different every time. I know that bothers some people, but I'm not a massive fan of staying consistent, because the way I'm surprised that I became an animator at all, really, because I feel like I get bored very easily with the process. But doing something different keeps it new and fresh, and I really enjoy trying new things, like new software and new processes and new styles. So keeping to one style and being consistent, I'm not too sure that I'm like a big fan, you know? Okay, so the way that I'm picturing this is that I'm at the bottom, I pop up, the eyes are big here, pupils looking pretty strange at the minute. And then we go into this pose. So we're going to go down and the arms are going to come up. So we've got like that nice little bounce. So these are the 4 main poses of the animation. It's just a tiny one. It's only going to last a few seconds, and then it's just going to hold at the end looking that way with the arms pointed. So we come up and then we're standing and then we're pointing. So from here to here, there's going to be a smear, and then she's going to dip down and the arms are going to come up, and then they're going to go out to the side as they bounce. So it's going to be a nice frame between there, and it's going to give a little bit of a arc as well. So as for timing, I don't really do timing charts. It's all in my head. So I'm going to try and explain as best I can. Usually I will just animate straight ahead like this, and then I'll time it out later, and I'll just keep playing it back and seeing what I like. So the head is going to stretch up like this, get a nice little egg shape, and the eyes are gonna also stretch out as well, and then the fringe is going to come down. I think the eyes are going to be above the fringe, like this. The ears are going to stretch, and then the mouth. Then you've got the neck. So with a smear, I always find it really interesting how the brain, how you look at that and it seems perfectly normal. Like your brain can interpret that movement as correct. You know what's going on. So that's why I love doing smears. Also saves quite a lot of time as well, which I love. So from here to there, I want the character to go down a little. So this head is going to come down, arms are going to come up, and like bend slightly, and then we're going to go into this pose here. I'm going to make a new frame. Turn the onion skin on, and I'm just going to trace over the head shape of the previous frame. I'm not going to go over the hair because the hair is going to move independently as well. So we got the head come down. I don't think it's going to come down too much. Just there. And the arms. So this arm is going to bend at the elbow and the hand is going to come along here. And a good way to see whether it looks right is to flip. Now, arcs are one of the 12 principles of animation. You can see there's like a tiny arc between these frames. So like top of the head, top of the head, and make them one, and then it goes like that. So it's a tiny little arc. So this arm is gonna come, and then the body is gonna go. Okay, so turn that off, and then we'll do a flip. Okay, so while these poses are great, I'm going to add in another frame, and this is going to have some follow through. So basically when you move this way, so when you move your arms out to the side, if you take a video of someone moving very quickly, they don't immediately stop, and that is their last pose. So if I move my hand out, there's like that little wobble at the end, and that's the bit that I want to include. This is the section that I want to add in the wiggle. So as the character moves up, the hands are going to go up a little bit more and then come back down. So we've got, turn this on. So just a slight wiggle. And this one doesn't have to be major. This looks a little bit more believable. I think the head is going to go up. So it's like we're stretching. Adding adjustments as I go. So these are the final frames for the roughs. So I could leave it like these 3 frames as they are, even though this is like the tiniest animation and it doesn't actually matter. It's going to bother me if I don't do it now. So we have the regular frame, and then we have the bounce back to what it was at the final pose. So there is one more adjustment that I want to make to this frame. So it will be different in other programs, but TVPaint has something called the warp tool. And I only usually use this on roughs and things because sometimes, because TVPaint is a raster based program, not vector, it will pixelate and get a bit fuzzy. So not a lot, but sometimes it's enough to be noticeable if you have a crisp, like hand-drawn frame next to one that you've altered with the warp tool. So the only things I'm going to change on this are the rigidity and the square size. So as you can see, the points are quite small at the moment. I'm just going to make them slightly bigger. And then I'm going to lock certain points and down here, just so that they don't move. So we want the hands to come down slightly. I'm just going to lock that point. So it's not exact, and some bits are warping in ways that I don't really want them to, and they are pulling on other bits. So you can get around that by adjusting the size of the squares and how rigid it is. I like to keep my rigidity quite high, and then the square size around like 20 to 30, but it depends on like what you're animating. If you're adjusting a finished lined frame, you'll probably want the square size to be smaller to reduce the impact on the rest of the lines, but since it's roughs at the minute, it doesn't really matter for me. So I'm just going to press enter, and that will save the change. So if I go back to my stroke tool, okay, no, that looks a lot better. Okay, I think we're good now, so let's do the timing. So I've started using 24 frames per second. 25 frames per second is what I was taught with at uni. It's actually UK standard frame rate, but everywhere else seems to use either 24 or sometimes 12. I want this to last. So I want this to last for 12, and then the eyes are gonna shoot over. Let's say that's another let's say that's 8. And then we have this one, which is going to be a 2, because smears are very, very quick usually. So, and then we have this, and that's going to be about 6, 2, and then these ones are going to be 2s because the movement settles in and then they're going to hold. If I play this through, that is a bit quick. So I want this frame, just from looking at that, I want this frame to last a little bit longer. I'm going to make that 18. I think I'm going to change some of these to 4s. And I think I'm going to get rid of that one. I tend to change my mind quite a lot when I'm working. So 2, 3, 3. So with little animations like this, I tend to jump straight in. I don't think too much about it other than the main poses, and then I mess about with the timings for a while. Usually it takes me a little bit longer to be happy with the timing, but this one was fairly quick. So I think I'm going to add in a couple of extra frames just around here. So like either side of this pose. So we're going to have one here, and then one there, and then I think we'll be good to go on to the lining. So this pose, we're going down to up. Okay, so I'm going to draw around the head again from the previous pose. We can sort of keep things a little bit more consistent. So for this in between, the posing of this frame will be closer to the drawing in pink than the one in blue. So when you have a slow movement, the frames are closer together, but when you have a fast movement, the motions are a bit further apart. So for a more in-depth explanation on timing and spacing, I have got one planned because I have scripted all 12 principles of animation into videos with exercises that are coming after this story time and after I've made all the individual tutorials. So hopefully they'll help, but they are going to go up on the YouTube channel as well. This one isn't, because this is more like spontaneous little extra thing that we're doing. I think the shoulders are going to drop, and also I would recommend, if you can, do the pose that you try out for yourself when you're animating. I am being quite restrained here, but usually if I'm not filming or recording myself, I will do all the actions, pull loads of stupid faces. There are animators who have a mirror in front of them for lip sync, track like mouth shapes and expressions to help them animate more realistically and see like how the brows pull down. So I think the shoulders are going to come down. There's the neck, and then just going to make sure that this is closer to the pink one. And so the bend is a bit more extreme on this one. Like that. Okay, let's turn this off. And you can see that makes so much difference, even if it's only like a tiny one drawing, but it makes so much difference. It feels so much more natural. I'm not even sure that you'd need another drawing just here, but actually I don't think I do. That one drawing meant that I didn't have to do the other one. We love it. We love a shortcut. Okay, so let's play it through. So the only change that I need to add is this bit. I want to add a little bounce in here rather than just stopping straight away like a robot. So I'm going to go 2 frames over. I'm going to select my eraser tool and just pop it on the screen so it creates a new frame. I'm going to go back to the original one between the smear and the new frame. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to use the perspective tool in TVPaint, and I'm just going to drag it up like this, press enter. That tiny bit of bounce, that tiny adjustment has made so much difference. So if I play it through. Okay, so that's the final adjustment to the roughs that I've made. I'm now going to lower the opacity of that layer and go in and do the line art. I'm going to make sure that my brush is consistent in shape. And I'm going to make a new layer and go over these. So if you're in TVPaint, you can just hit duplicate structure and it will copy all your frames like that. So 2-point circle, like that. That's a smear frame, so it doesn't need to be consistent. So now I've just used the cut brush tool. I'm just going to slide over the circle and I'm going to go to each of the poses and put the circle on top of the keys, just so we keep consistent. Like that. And then I'm going to go in with this. I usually use the line smoothing tool at around 28 if I'm just doing character stuff. But if I need really precise, really smooth lines, I will go up to like 50. Now this is a lot of effort to go to for a tiny animation, but I like adding the little extra touches and stuff to the videos, even if it does make production time a lot longer. This video has been in production for a very long time. So with this frame, this was stretched, so I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to use the perspective tool and I'm going to press it down. Press enter. Now I don't think that you can see it. Let's go really, really close. So this is the one that I've adjusted with the perspective tool. And this is the one that I drew manually. Now there is a tiny, tiny bit of blurring if you look at the pixel. So this line here is grey. If you go up, there's no extra grey line here. So it does look a little bit crisper. And as long as you don't transform or warp or use the perspective tool too much on one frame, the pixelation is going to be to a minimum. One way that I have found out to get around this and stop pixelation being absolutely crazy is to duplicate like the first frame if there's a certain amount of drawings that I want to duplicate. So I'll just go here and then I will adjust each one like this. So let's say this one's got to be really low, but then the next one I want it slightly above. By pressing enter, TVPaint will remember your previous move. So this is the pose of the previous frame. I can just draw this up a little more and press enter. Now they'll only have the slight amount of pixelation rather than this being moved every time. So there will be a little bit more pixelation with every warp, transform, perspective tool that you use. Let me just check the eye size. So the eye size here is a little bit bigger than the previous one. So I'm just going to turn the onion skin on. And then I'm going to use the cut brush. So I transformed / rotated the brush and it's gone a bit fuzzy, which is annoying. I'm hoping that TVPaint somehow fix that in the next version, because if they do, I will upgrade. If they don't, probably not. So that is the eye shape. So the design of the arms are essentially noodle arms, similar to the designs from Adventure Time. So the arms stay consistent in width, but they can bend at any point, as long as it's like a smooth curve. So I'm quite happy with this. I have done the lines now, I've adjusted the pupils, make sure that they're all filled in, and I think I can colour now. So the way that you can do it in TVPaint, the way I usually do it, is quicker, is the colour and texture layer, and that is only available in the Pro version. It's literally just like the bucket fill tool, except you can draw a line and it will fill in the section that you need. So just make sure that you take off the line smoothing, because otherwise it's a bit annoying. And I usually go through with one colour first, and then grab the next colour and go through the rest of the frames like that, just because it's annoying trying to fill in a single frame with all the different colours, even though I have got them colour picked just there. But doing colouring in TVPaint is typically super quick, so it doesn't take too long. And also, if you know that this line here is going to be present in the rest of the frames, I can just highlight, press enter, and TVPaint will fill that in for me. It doesn't always work like amazingly well. Obviously you can see here it has coloured in the hair, and I can just erase the bit of blue that appeared. It's easy enough to fix. And obviously if you have a section of the character, so say like the arm is, so like I'm touching my head here, this section will be coloured as well, but there's no way to remove that while in the colour and texture layer. You have to render it to a anim layer by going right clicking, make anim, and then that will turn it to a regular animation layer. And then you have to either go in with an eraser or change the bucket fill here to, you want to change the source to above. So this is the line layer, this is your color layer, and you want to change it to above, so you can click it. So that's set to color, but if you go to erase, it will erase the color from that layer, but use the above layer as reference. So I'm just going to undo that. But yeah, so this is the finished little doodle, and I've just realized that there is in that last frame there's a tiny section that was not colored in the blue. Now I want to export this animation. I've made sure that the background layer is off just in case I've drawn anything on it, and I want to go to File, Export to. And as you can see, the background is black because there is nothing there. To export without a background, I want to change it to mauve, and then I want to go here to the little cog and make sure that compressed ProRes RGBA, which is alpha, is on, and then export. Now, when this is finished rendering, I'm going to add it to my storyboarding video, which I hope you'll be able to see soon. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll be back with another video real soon. Bye!